Hey, how's it going guys? Captain Kuba here, and as many of you guys know, a few months back I had the pleasure to interview Corey Barlach and Eric Williams. And the information I got from this interview got featured in sites like IGN, GameSpot, and many other YouTubers' channels. This was really awesome, but it simultaneously made me sad, because prior to this interview, I had the original creator of the God of War series on the channel as well, David Jaffe. And in my opinion, there's many things in this interview that not a lot of God of War fans know, things that are really important. And the interview with David Jaffe is a goldmine, but no one covered it, not IGN, not other YouTubers. So this dilemma has inspired me to make a brand new playlist called Straight from Santa Monica Studios. In this playlist, you'll be able to find highlights from certain interviews I do with Santa Monica employees, or in the case of David Jaffe, former Santa Monica employees. And I thought to myself, what is the best clip to start off this new playlist? How about David Jaffe spilling the beans about the cancelled God of War movie? So let's do this.
Although I was involved with the movie a little bit that they were making back when I was still at Sony, never happened, of course, but thank God.
Why thank God?
Well, because it started off really good. It started off with the producers who had just made Batman Begins. And they were great, and they still have the rights to it. They're a great company. And they paid $1 million to a guy to write the script. An Academy Award nominee. Wasn't a great script, no, but it was a really good first draft. Like, you could definitely look at it and go, okay, we could build something here.
You can't expand upon what the script would have been. Yeah,
I mean, it was the God of War story, but I want to say the Oracle was made to be more of not a sidekick, but a companion. So I guess because the writer wasn't wrong. He's like, in a game, it's fine to have Kratos go traipsing around by himself, but I need somebody to have dialogue with Kratos so we can have words.
Okay.
And so he had expanded the role of the Oracle to make her more, a companion.
Yeah,
right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so, but it was still, they were going through the sewers of Athens and they were trying to get Pandora's box, but and Kratos was a little warmer than he was in the games, but it was still roughly the story. There was the one thing he did that I just loved, that I wanted to ultimately do in a game if I ever made another God of War, and if not, I hope somebody does it, was the Pandora's Temple. His idea was that it was Pandora's Temple, but the architect, who's a guy named Paulus Verdes III, was still alive. And as long as even though his sons died and stuff, as long as he kept designing the temple, he would survive. And so what was happening was he was kind of sitting somewhere in some chamber, and he was realizing that Kratos was coming in to steal Pandora's box, which would defeat the whole reason to have the temple. And so he didn't want Kratos to succeed. So as he literally was designing on his magic parchment with his magic quill, Pandora's temple was in real time changing. So he was almost like being a dungeon master in a D&D game,
right, that
was kind of creating traps and monsters and scenarios to stop Kratos from getting to Pandora's box. And it was like this living temple of doom, basically moving around and shifting in real time to stop Kratos and the Oracle. So I thought that was really, really cool. But ultimately, thank God it didn't get made, not because of the script. And I remember at one point after the script was done, they hired an artist. This was after Casino Royale was really big. And they said, let's redo the God of War cover, but let's use Daniel Craig, who's obviously James Bond. Let's use his face and all that stuff. And they sent it to him over the weekend, and he said no. But they were like, if they would have had Daniel Craig, it would have probably been a go movie. And if it got tossed around to different people and different directors, and finally it ended up with Brett Ratner, who is he's not a very, in my opinion, it's subjective, but he's not a very good director. He's the guy who made I want to say he did that the Rush Hour series with
Chris Rock.
Was that Jackie Chan and the guy in The Fifth Element with the high voice, whatever his name is. He did that. Yeah. He did some other just kind of crappy movies that were, functional. Chris Tucker, right, Nick? Perfunctory things. Okay. And it was that point where it's just kind of like, just don't make the movie. But, you know, that's their business. In Hollywood, it's like, look, a greenlit movie is better than not having any work at all. And maybe we're not going to get an Oscar winner out of this, but fuck it. We're going to get a green light. We'll all get paid really well, and we can go on to the next thing. And so, you know, I think I was gone from Sony by that point, but there wasn't a lot of pushback. And I was like, really? All right, I get whatever. I don't care. And then ultimately he dropped out. But it was interesting because he went off to make a movie with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, which was Hercules.
Oh,
and
God.
He directed, and there were a number of things in Hercules that clearly were God of War from his movie that he's just like, I'm going to use those in Hercules.
Really?
So
okay,
I want to say there was a thing where, you know, Hercules was like pushing open the mouth of a giant snake or serpent or something, or I don't like the Hydra battle or some monster. Yeah. There might have even been a thing where he slid down the stomach of the thing and slid him open, like in the cutscene, and you know, monsters and stuff. But I mean, whatever, you know, it wasn't like I was bothered by it, but I was just like, okay, I'm glad Ratner got that out of his system. So I'm sure
the identity of the God of War movie remained in the Hercules one because he's the one who directed. That's really interesting.
I didn't see it. I only saw clips of it where people were like, hey, this is that God of War guy. I'm like, oh yeah, that does look like God of War, but I don't know enough about it to plant a flag and say that's exactly what happened.
Right.
But you know, I'm sure they will do something with it now that they have PlayStation Productions, and The Last of Us is getting made. My understanding is that is the most expensive pilot episode HBO has ever shot in their existence. And obviously Twisted Metal may or may not get made. I mean, we hope it will. It's still moving forward, but you know, how that shit goes, you never know. But there's clearly a bigger effort now and more of a focus to expand the intellectual property out from the games to other things. So
I know they have the Uncharted movie coming out in a few months, right? The Uncharted one?
Uncharted movie. Yep. That's right. So I would not be surprised if we hear about a God of War Netflix series or a God of War movie.
Well,
but I don't know anything, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Sony did announce that they confirmed that they were not working on a God of War movie or TV show at the moment. What do you think about that?
I think anybody who listens to official words coming from companies and takes them as they don't, and I don't mean this disrespectfully. They don't, you know, I lied about working on Twisted Metal, right? You're not being played like they're disrespecting you, but they have.
Talk about it. Yeah, they can't talk about
it. Yeah, they have a war map of this is, you know, when you would just make a game that never got a lot of traction, you would meet with PR and PR would be like, okay, here's the plan. On this date, we reveal this. On this date, we leak this out to one exclusive to IGN because they're, you know, they owe us coverage because we did this for them or whatever, and on and on and on and on. And so I guarantee you that war map extends not just to game, but all the games and all the movies and all of the brand. And in that, in the hardware, and when are we going to announce PSVR 2? And oh, that's an E3 announcement, but oh shit, no, that won't work at E3 because we need to announce this. Okay, so let's move that 2 months later. It's all very calculated. So if a reporter comes up to Sony and says, is there a God of War television series in the works? And they say no comment, you know what is going to happen. Well, no comment might as well be, there is, but I can't talk about it. So it's better to just lie. Because if Sony's job is not to answer your questions accurately, Sony's job is to entertain you and provide you good value for your money. And some of that value is the surprise and delight of going, oh shit, I woke up today and they're making a fucking God of War movie. And they make sure that news drops maybe on a Friday. So it's on the front page of all the websites all weekend long because most websites don't update over the weekend, right? All of this shit is calculated for the most part. And so just my point is just because they're telling you there's not, I think it's moronic to assume there are not active discussions about doing something with God of War outside of the gaming IP in a linear storytelling medium. I think that's a ridiculous concept.
I found it really odd when I heard the news because God of War right now is one of Sony's biggest property right now. Like Horizon, sure, it's up there.
Horizon's second tier to God of War.
You know,
it's a real question of whether, I mean, Spider-Man's their biggest, but they don't really own Spider-Man. So you really have to look at Last of Us, God of War, maybe Uncharted, but those are really the three.
I mean, Uncharted was big on the PlayStation 3. PS4 they only had 2 games, I guess, Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy. yeah, nobody knows if there's going to be an Uncharted 5. I think there's rumors about that.
Of
But
course there will. Of course there will be.